There are players who come into basketball and quietly make their way through the game, collecting stats and playing their role. And then there are those who light up the floor with an unmistakable fire that sets them apart. Sophie Cunningham has always belonged to that second category. To talk about her is not only to talk about her skills, her shooting, or her competitive grit, but also about a larger story of where she comes from, the culture that shaped her, the way she wears her heart on her sleeve, and the way she refuses to play this game any other way than at full throttle. Hers is a story of basketball, yes, but it's also a story of personality, energy, and charisma that turns a player into a symbol of fight, faith, and fearlessness. Born and raised in Columbia, Missouri, Sophie Cunningham grew up in a world where basketball wasn't just a sport. It was an environment that seeped into the bones of her family and community. Missouri is a state with deep pride in its athletes, and Sophie embodied that pride from the start. Even as a kid, she wasn't simply content to shoot around. She wanted to compete. The driveway games with family, the scrimmages in gyms, the endless hours working on her shot. These were the building blocks of someone destined for bigger things. What separated her early on was not just talent, though she had plenty of that, but an unteachable competitiveness. Sophie wasn't just trying to play the game. She was trying to win it, every single time, no matter what the stakes were. That attitude, stubborn and unrelenting, became a trademark that would define her across every level she played. By the time she hit Rockbridge High School in Columbia, the local community already knew she was special. She had that blend of skill and leadership that made teammates rally around her and opponents wary of her. She was the kind of player who could knock down a big three, drive into the paint, take the hit, finish the play, and then turn around with that fiery expression that said, "I'm not going anywhere." Her time at Rockbridge set the stage for what was coming. But more importantly, it anchored her identity in her Missouri roots. She wasn't just another kid with hoop dreams. She was the kid who wanted to wear the black and gold, who wanted to represent the state, and who believed in carrying her home on her back. So when it came time to choose a college, the decision to stay home and play for the University of Missouri wasn't just a career choice. It was a statement. Cunningham wasn't just signing with Mizzou. She was making a pledge to the state and to the fans who had watched her grow. And once she stepped onto that court as a Tiger, she didn't just live up to the expectations, she redefined them. Mizzou women's basketball had always had respect, but Sophie brought it a different kind of spotlight. Her arrival coincided with a new era of energy and belief, and she became the face of the program in a way few athletes ever do. At Mizzou, Sophie's game blossomed. She was never just a shooter or just a guard. She was a complete competitor. She played with an edge, and that edge made her dangerous. The SEC is one of the toughest conferences in women's basketball, and Cunningham didn't back down for a second. She wanted those rivalries, those hostile gyms, those moments where everything was on the line. And fans across the country noticed. She had games where she hit clutch shots, games where she carried her team through sheer will, and games where her toughness became the story. Cunningham wasn't afraid of the spotlight. She thrived in it. She was named All-SEC multiple times, and by the time her college career ended, she had cemented her place as one of the most iconic athletes in Missouri history. But beyond the numbers, what people remember most about Sophie at Mizzou was her personality. She was bold, outspoken, and unapologetically herself. Whether she was barking back at an opponent, firing up her teammates, or walking off the floor with that trademark grin, she exuded authenticity. That energy made her polarizing to some, beloved to others, but unforgettable to everyone. In college basketball, where so many players blend into the system, Sophie made sure she stood out. She was, in every sense, Missouri through and through. The transition to the WNBA is never easy. The league is the best of the best, a concentrated world of elite athletes where even the smallest weaknesses can be exposed. When Sophie Cunningham was drafted by the Phoenix Mercury in 2019, she walked into a franchise that had established legends like Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner. Some players might have been overwhelmed, content to quietly find their place in the shadows of greatness. Sophie took a different approach. She respected those legends, of course, but she also brought her fire with her. She wanted to prove that she belonged, and she was willing to do it the hard way, by competing every single day. In Phoenix, she found the perfect environment to test herself. The Mercury are known for their toughness, for being a team that embraces players who don't shy away from challenges, and Cunningham fit that mold perfectly. Her early years were about carving out a role, coming off the bench, being the spark plug who brought energy and defense, and proving she could hit shots when needed. But slowly, she grew into more. She became one of those players opponents hated to go up against because of her grit, her relentless motor, and her willingness to do all the little things that don't always show up in the box score. Fans in Phoenix saw what Missouri fans had seen years earlier. Sophie Cunningham doesn't play the game halfway. Over time, her offensive game expanded too. Known as a reliable three-point shooter, she started to showcase more versatility, putting the ball on the floor, making plays, and becoming more of an all-around threat. Her growth wasn't just about skill, though. It was about mentality. The Sophie Cunningham who entered the league as a fiery role player evolved into a leader, someone who not only held herself accountable, but demanded the same of others. And when Phoenix needed toughness, especially in moments of adversity, Sophie was there. Whether it was standing up for her teammates, throwing her body into plays, or simply refusing to be intimidated, she made it clear that her presence mattered. Off the court, Sophie's impact has been just as significant. She has become a face of the Mercury, someone fans rally behind because they see her authenticity. She isn't polished into some corporate image. She's real, approachable, and confident in who she is. That confidence, rooted in her faith and her values, has made her a role model for younger players. She's also shown that you don't have to compromise your personality to succeed. You can be fiery, competitive, and unapologetic, and still earn respect at the highest level. But perhaps what makes Sophie Cunningham so compelling is that she embodies something bigger than basketball. She represents the fight, the underdog spirit, the willingness to challenge anyone, anywhere. She plays for her teammates, her family, her fans, and for herself. And in a league that continues to grow, that continues to demand more visibility and respect, players like Sophie are essential. They remind the world that women's basketball isn't just about highlights. It's about heart, about fight, about the players who leave everything on the floor night after night. Sophie's journey is still being written. She has many years ahead in her career, many more battles to fight, many more shots to hit, many more moments to inspire. But already, she has built a legacy. From Missouri's hometown hero to Phoenix's relentless spark, she has shown what it means to embrace your roots, to stay true to yourself, and to play this game with everything you've got. Her story is one of energy, authenticity, and a spirit that refuses to dim. And maybe that's the lasting image of Sophie Cunningham, the competitor who smiles as she battles, the player who isn't afraid to mix it up, the woman who carries Missouri pride wherever she goes, and the athlete who has already etched her name into the fabric of basketball. She is not done, not even close. But what she has given the game so far has been unforgettable. Thank you for joining us in celebrating Sophie Cunningham, a player whose fire burns as brightly as her talent. If her story inspired you, if her grit reminded you of the beauty of competition, or if her journey gave you hope, don't let it stop here. Share that feeling, pass it on, and keep it alive. Like this tribute, if you felt her passion, share it with someone who loves the fight of the game, and subscribe so you never miss another story like this. Because athletes like Sophie Cunningham don't just play basketball, they show us how to live with fight, with faith, and with fearlessness.